All right, well, if President Obama thinks Europe is waiting with open arms to take those GITMO detainees, he could be in for a rude awakening. The Washington Post reporting today there's growing opposition in Europe. Why is former USS Cole Commander Kirk Lippold not at all surprised? The commander joins me right now. He's one of my favorite guests. Commander, thank you very much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me back on the show, Neil.
You and I were just chatting about this, the willingness of others to take in these guys. No one in the 50 states are interested except a prominent prison operator, I think, in Montana. But now we find out that in Europe they're not hot to trot on it, even though they were universally condemning GITMO itself. So now what?
Well, how convenient for the Europeans to do something like this. They complain and wave the human rights flag back and forth very vocally for the past few years, and now suddenly when faced with the real possibility that in order to close Guantanamo, they might have to accept some of the detainees as a goodwill gesture for the Obama administration, and the administration is relying on them being willing to do it. All of a sudden they realized and started taking a look at the cold hard facts, the intelligence and everything else, and realizing that we might in fact have some of the worst down in Guantanamo Bay, and this rush to shut it within a one-year timeline may not come as quickly, as easily, or as conveniently as perhaps everyone thought.
But isn't another real reason here, Commander, that no one here wanted them? That is, no one in this country wanted them. So the Europeans could rightly look to that and said, well, geez, why should we pick up the slack for you if these guys aren't trouble? Certainly one of the 50 states would consider them, and not a one did or has. So they said, we're out too.
I'm sure you've got some folks here in the United States that would accept them. I'm not sure they quite realize that it's not just a jobs program for a prison facility to be taking on, because it's not only an ability to keep them in, but for the first time, prisons would also have to deal with the ability to stop others from trying to break them out, which is something that our facilities are not designed or equipped for. But the reality of it is, let's look at the example of the Chinese Uyghurs. There's a number of them that the Obama administration was planning on bringing here into the United States.
Right.
But the reality of it is, even the Germans are concerned because the administration will not declassify all the files and share all the information. If they're unwilling to do that for us here in the United States, much less our allies that are helping us a lot in the war on terror, then certainly there's a reluctance and there's more to it than meets the eye.
You wonder what they are. And you're referring,
I think you're referring to there, even for those that have been deemed eligible for release,
gotcha, but
we can't
Commander,
do it, and there's a number with Al-Qaeda where we can.
Just want to be clear here, sir.